You can spot an AI-built site from across the room. The purple gradient across the top, the rounded cards, that off-white background that's somehow always the same shade of off-white. These tools are incredible. They let you build things in an afternoon that used to take weeks, months, or even longer. But every one of them has a design personality. And frankly, once you see it everywhere. Oh, you're on mute, Chris.
Of course.
It was a perfect transition, though.
I know. I did. That was my best transition so far. But
we'll never know.
Today, we're going to show you how to break out of that personality. We'll walk you through the default aesthetics that Lovable, Claude, and other design tools fall back on when you leave the prompt to open. And then we'll show you how to close that gap and introduce your own unique personality. Specific prompts. I'm going to talk a little bit about color and typography and layout, the things that make a design look like you made it.
Yeah. And if you've built something with AI and thought it works, but it doesn't look like mine, that's exactly what we're solving for today. This is episode 17 of the Shift AI show presented by AWeber. If you can imagine it, you can do it with AWeber. Happy World Cup to all who celebrate. Obviously, I am. Man, was that the Netherlands winning their first match on Sunday? It looked like it. I don't know. I could be mistaken. It seemed like it. Man, but I just got to say, like, if you didn't watch our episode on, it was really on kind of like Google I/O and everything that they're announcing. But really, like, the best, I don't know, I think maybe the most meaningful part of that was the release of Omni, their new video model that is replacing VO. And I was just playing with it again for that. And it takes some pretty incredible direction. It makes some weird mistakes, but like, it's really good at, like, you know, kind of iterative prompting and coming up with the right thing.
Yeah, it's incredible. That was incredible.
Yeah.
But it's really incredible when I ask you this. How long did that take you to make?
5 minutes.
Yeah, that's what's so...
And most of that was like the couple of minutes for it to generate it. You know what I mean? Like, it was very little prompting and mostly me sitting there twiddling my thumbs waiting. Yeah, so welcome. Oh, Dave, I should have thought of you. You're in Kansas City, the Netherlands, where I grew up, in my home team. That's their home base for the World Cup, and they've kind of tried to take over the city a little bit. I love it. I'm excited, but let's move on to AI, shall we? Yeah. Go for it.
So, I mean, I'm just going to jump in. Like, today, what we're talking about is how to get around. Like, I think about it as the Beigeification of the internet, because when you're asking tools like Claude or like Lovable or ChatGPT or Replit or any of these tools to make things, you start to see the same design patterns repeated over and over again. That's good in some cases, like when you want people to know what to do, like button clusters are a good example of that. But in other cases, when every site seems like the last site, it's even harder to stand out than it is in the normally noisy internet. So we're going to talk about how do you update these AI created designs using AI to feel more personal and like you. So if you can...
And we had a question last week before it probably up there. Was it last week or one of the episodes last week, where a viewer was saying, like, asked, I want to say it was Erica, and I feel like I should have thought about that before I opened my mouth. But like, is the whole internet going to start to look the same? And like, the answer is like a little.
Yeah. Yes, if we're not careful.
If we're not bringing our own taste and insight and direction to it, then yes, absolutely. But that's what we're going to solve for today, right?
Yes. So I'm going to show you a couple pages I've made in different builders. This is in Claude Design. All of them are for a dog walking business. This is mainline mutts. And I want you to notice a couple things, like this thing right here, this little stat block over top of an image, that is Claude Design, like, built into its DNA. It always does that in Heroes unless you ask it to do otherwise. There's this floating image with a nice looking drop shadow Down here, you see these cards with the same border radius that Jesse, I know, has talked about in the past. Overlaid images.
You talked about the Beigeification. It's the roundification of all elements on the internet.
And like the thing I want to be clear about is like this looks nice. And Anne asked a question, but don't templates do the same thing? And the answer is yeah. But the purpose of templates are to get you to like a least common denominator type site, a site that is there to get you up and running. And that's fine, but it's not going to necessarily stand out. Now, you can stand out with things like imagery. That's a big thing that you could focus on to stand out. But I think you can also push the actual design of the site that you've built. And that's one of the really cool things about AI is oftentimes in the past, we started with templates because we didn't know how to build the thing that we wanted to build. But now with the help of these AI tools, you can build things that you couldn't in the past. And that's what I'm going to show you, like how to push on a little today.
Yeah. And I think like in terms of templates, like it kind of proves of what we're talking about here today is like with a template, you still bring kind of your own touch to it. You don't take a template and publish it as the template. You add your content, you make your content design tweaks, whatever. Plus, like I think an important point of distinction is if we think of how much of the internet WordPress used to run, right? Like, and especially in like a small business entrepreneur space, WordPress was dominant. Those templates were not all designed by WordPress. Like there was a universe of designers and developers coming to that with like different starting points, different ideas, different taste. Whereas what we're talking about here is like a few select AI tools with their own design personality, creating a ton of output. And so I think we have to be that much more intentional about a distinction.
Here is Lovable's version of the same prompt. I used the same exact lightweight prompt to generate these pages to start. And this is nice. It has a beautiful hero. That looks great. But again, kind of Beigeification. Everything is in this tan family. Again, like these overlays, which look fine. They look fine, but they don't look specifically like me. These same cards for presenting things. Testimonials. And the thing I do really like about this is the sign up form presentation at the bottom. But again, just a little like beige. And you don't have to like tear your site up from the ground up if you don't want to. That's not necessarily what I'm suggesting. What I want to walk through is ways that you can add pieces of personality into your site. I'm going to show something else kind of fun. This is in AWeber. This is your sneak peek at the landing page builder in AWeber. Dave, I see you're on the call. This is something that we're working really hard to get into folks' hands because I've just been playing around with this, making really kind of wild off-the-wall things, and it has been an absolute blast. But by default, we're picking up some of these same standard design styles, these like left-hand borders on value propositions or services in this case, that we can just add some personality into. Again, perfectly fine site. If you don't have anything else, this is great, but you can make it feel more like you. So with all,
I gotta ask, did you give it explicit instruction around typeface?
No,
because I feel like I unless I'm like misremembering, I feel like every single one went with that like serif header, sans serif body copy or
other than
copy.
Claude design.
Oh no, not that. Well, there's a subtle aspect element in there, but you're right. Although that's a very Claude look to like combine serif and sans serif.
So and then the last one is ChatGPT, and this one has all of it. Again, it looks fine, but it has all of those same things: the image with drop shadow, the overlaid stat or service or info bit, these rounded corners inside of rounded corners. And again, it looks, that's a very funny looking dog. That's very cute, but it looks fine. But this one in particular, I was like looking at this. What is it for? Is it an app? Is it what? It just kind of, that's the problem that I'm trying to communicate is that like the lack of personality or the generic personality of some of these websites, I think makes it harder for people to understand right off the bat what they're even talking about. So let me, that's all the preamble. Let me show you what I have found to be a really good prompt to explore different variations and figure out like, how might I make this different? So we have, I dropped a link in the YouTube chat to this. This is our mega marketing prompt library Google Doc. We're putting this, the prompts that we use as we go into this doc. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time walking through this, but this is something you could try with your own designs in the tool. And the really important part of this is this little paragraph here, where you're talking about who this site is for. You give a brief introduction of who you are, like what your business is. And I'll show you what that looks like in practice in just a sec. Then you describe some of the things that your taste runs towards. Like, what are the things that you like? What are the designs and products and brands that really resonate with you? And then give it some guidance on the voice of your writing, just simple stuff. So you can see that in practice in my prompt, where I said, Mainline Mutts is an independently owned dog walking company. Give some more information about that. My tastes runs toward Notion. I like Notion's website. Skate culture. I like that sort of aesthetic. And zines, like independent magazines and newsletters and stuff. The voice of my writing is relatable, quirky, and kind. And then there's all of this logic built into that prompt about specific things to avoid and to check for.
And just to reiterate, this prompt is in the doc that you shared in chat.
Yeah,
right?
so you could copy paste it into your own design software and see what it does. A neat way that I would suggest that you play with this is go into ChatGPT, if you have ChatGPT, or into a builder if you're using a builder, and just have it rebuild a website for you, a simple one. This is just an experiment to help you get better at this type of stuff. And then put this prompt in and see what it gives you. Because what it's going to...
Yeah. To that point, Tabby asked earlier, I didn't use Claude for my website. I used it to build my app. Should I use it for my website? I made one on Shopify, kind of like a landing page. Would it be better to use Claude for my website? I would give it a go and see, compare the results, right? Like, I think the answer is in the output, but it's not a big time commitment to find out if it produces a better result for you.
I think we just flashed out and then back. So
glad you came back that fast.
So let me show you what the result was. And I really love this prompt because it doesn't just immediately go into implementation. What it does is it gives you ideas on directions you could pursue. And I was kind of going through this fast for the purpose of this demo, but it proposes 3 different things: a WOG lock zine, spot check, and a safety club. Because in my page itself, one of the things that I really cared about was I wanted people to know that I would prioritize the safetyness and happiness of their dogs. So it normally I would say just pick one of those to explore. But if you're using this just to experiment, what I did is I said, can you create all 3? And again, I'm working in ChatGPT, where this is a great place to experiment. You could do the same thing in Claude. And what it built for me were 3 variations. So again, this is the original one. And then the versions I got were, this is the field note energy, where it kind of makes it look a little bit more zine-y, but follows the same structure. The second is the spot check. Same structure, just different styles.
Yeah.
And the last one is also same structure, but very, like different styles here. So now I have 3 different styles to choose from, but the structure of my page was not meaningfully different. So this is what leads into the next prompt. And you can see this in the mega prompt doc as well. Oh wait, no, sorry. This was that's a later one. But here I just gave it some direct feedback. I was like, this is getting better, but they still feel generic. I want you to take a pass at rearranging the content on the screen. And actually, I'll paste this into the doc as well. I'm going to format this in just a second. But sorry, I was just copying that. But I asked for big changes now because I have the styles. And what I got back were much more major restructures now. So it is actually restructuring the layout of the page. It's throwing in wholly new colors, doing things weird. What it was trying to do here is show notes pinned up against a wall. And so they feel like a little off kilter, just things that are different than you would normally see on a site. So that's the first one. The second one was this one. I really love that headline. Your dog is not a route optimization problem, which is something that folks, when they're looking for dog walkers, often find is like, are you just going to take my dog in an uninteresting route for them? But that's the second one. And then the third one I got was this one, which was all about safety. Again, like a little janky, but I told it to go wild, and it did. And it's giving me some interesting ideas here. And here is where I kind of really dialed in on the one that I liked. I liked the walks with receipts version. That's like this one with like the note paper. So I was like, dig in on this one. But it's a little too chaotic. Can you update it? And here I want to show you something interesting. It told me it updated it, but it hadn't. This is the exact same page it had shown me before. And that's something that you just have to be careful of with these tools, is check their work. Like, make sure that it actually did the thing it said that it did. Because I didn't notice that first time. So I asked it to keep making additional changes. And then when I got down to, where did I really notice? So I got down to here, and I asked it to implement this big round of changes. And then I opened it up, and I was like, this is still the same thing. And I finally recognized it, and I told it, you didn't make any of these changes you said you would make. Actually make them. So it did. And now you can see this is meaningfully different. The centered text, this new presentation of stuff here, you know, a whole new structure for the page. Pretty cool. Receipts from humans. That's how it describes my testimonials from happy customers. But there's a lot of jank here. That's a technical term. Like this weird spacing here. The fact that these run into the image above them, just like weird spacing stuff. And I could go through the process of trying to list out everything I saw wrong, but that is time consuming, it's prone to inaccuracy, and it's not the best way to work with AI that can interpret images. So instead, what I did is I took a screenshot of the page, and this is the actual next prompt. I did what I'm calling a screenshot critique. And this is where, like, after you're generally happy with the content of the page and you want to do like a cleanup and refinement of it, this is the perfect time to take a screenshot of the page and give it this prompt. I want you to critique it and look for visual bugs like double dividers, text without enough padding, all stuff like that, and provide me with a list of changes you think we should make. This is me working with the model as a creative partner, because I don't want it to just make all these changes. I want to know what it thinks that I should do so I can work with it. So I ran that, and you can see here I attached my screenshot of the page. And it breaks out in very high level, or in very detailed feedback, what it thinks it would change. And we could read through all of this, but it's not super important right now. Because at the end, it kind of rolls up what it would do if it were making the changes. And just for the purpose of this demo, I didn't really read this. I was like, okay, make the 5 changes. Here again, it said that it did, but it hadn't made any changes. So I had to prompt it to actually do it. And I got this, which is much cleaner compared to the previous version. A lot of the issues I was talking about have been cleaned up.
That's a really interesting step, because I was actually going to ask you a little bit earlier if you were finding more success being like explicit and directive, or like, I guess what I call almost like supportive in the feedback, where it's like, it's really funny. I'm actually, I coach my son's youth travel team. And one of the things that we were learning about was like, you know, don't tell them what they could have done differently. Ask them what they think could have done differently. Yeah. What they could. And it almost feels like you took that approach, that's kind of supportive versus directive approach, where you're like, take a look at this and list out what you think should be fixed. It allows, I mean, it's more efficient for you, but it also allows you to then like actually review and be like, yes, let's fix A, B, F, and Q. Yeah. You know, not just have these revisions run or have to sit there and call out, as is so often. And I mean, that's a powerful thing, because if I'm working with a real designer and I get a draft or a revision, I have to give explicit directive feedback on every single little thing that I want changed. I can't just go back to them and go, I received your draft. What do you think we should change?
Yeah.
You know, they would have done it. But this is like such an improved process in that sense.
Yes. And this wasn't even the end, because I want to show you one more thing. Like, it did a bunch of cool stuff. Like, this looks much more put together. I love, like, again, the personality of it.
It has unique personality.
Yeah, it's independent
dog
walking.
Not out of the box style that any of those platforms is going to come up with a simple prompt.
But so, like, here's the thing where we've talked a lot about, like, in a world where AI can do this, what is the benefit of a human in knowledge work, in creative work? And it all comes down to taste. Because, like, I look at this and it's cool, but there was one thing that really got me. It's like, what are these things? These 8 blocks, like, what are they? I didn't really know, so I just asked. Like, I'm working with a junior designer. Where was that? Where was my comment? Oh, here. I was just like, what is the walk receipt section trying to communicate? It's not clear. And then I called out one other bug that I had seen. So it described to me what it was trying to do. It was trying to communicate the fact that, like, every individual dog has its own experience. And that's one of the cool things, is that I recognize that. So it was like, okay, it's not clear to you. Let me propose a different way to accomplish this. And it did. And it showed me, like, what the new receipts would show. You know, it would call out the specific dog and the date, and then notes about it. It's much easier to understand conceptually in my mind. So I was like, okay, let's implement it. And what I ended up with is this page, which has the same hero, but now on the receipt end, it really calls this out. It's like, the point is simple. I notice things, not just whether the walk happened, but how your dog felt, what kept them safe, and the tiny weird details that you want to know. And then it gives me some fun little receipts that people can hopefully associate with their own dogs, and shows that I care about their dogs as individuals. So Murphy on Tuesday chose the shady side of the street without being asked. Penny on Thursday, negotiation lasted 4 minutes. Penny won spiritually. And Blue on Friday, the overall mood was the senior stroll legend. I just love it.
Penny refused to walk past a suspicious inflatable flamingo.
That's important to know.
I want to hire you to walk my puppy.
Yeah, it's just, this is great. It's this type of stuff, the personality like this, that actually is the meaningful thing for many people. Because here's, like, the uncomfortable truth about our websites, is that oftentimes when people get to our websites, they already have intent. By the time they get to their website, most of the people who visit it already have some idea of whether or not they want to interact with you. And that's what the purpose of this section, the hero of your website, is to get people to do the thing, the main thing. Like in this case, get started with me. But the important part about scrolling the page, and we talk about this when we're talking about landing page optimization, is every single scroll that someone makes shows that they're still interested, that there's something there, and it's on you to make the sale, to close the sale. So it's really important that you don't treat the lower content on your page as just throwaway, because the people who are engaging with it are actually your the people who you most need to convince. And the deeper they get on the page, the more you really need to be working to make that conversion. So here I'm trying to communicate the values of myself as an individual. I start to tell my story to try and give people an idea of, like, why am I good for their dog? Why can they trust me? Down here, I include testimonials from other people, still more how they can trust me. Yeah. And then down at the end, like, if they're not willing to, by the time they get here, if they're not willing to make the big commit of scheduling with me, I give them a smaller commit of getting tips from me about their own dogs.
Yeah, but the important thing is there's still an action at the end of that. It sounds silly, but you're not even relying on them to have to go all the way back to the top.
Yes, yeah.
To then take whatever action. It's funny because you actually have started to answer our mailbag question for the day. So we'll come back to in a beautiful way. It's great.
I mean, so, like, this was we're trying to keep the demos more like focused and on task and giving you prompts that you can actually use. This is the end of my demo for this. Unless people have questions, the thing I'm going to do while we jump into the mailbag and wait for other questions is I'm going to go back into AWeber's builder. This is still in beta. Again, we will have this in your hands as soon as we possibly can. But I'm going to put that prompt, the refinement prompt, in here. I'm going to make one little change. And instead of asking for the variations, I'm going to, I'm just going to remove the process step of this and try and run it and see if it generates a more interesting design for me.
I love it. Yeah, so our mailbag today, since we're kind of on the topic, came from Neil. Of course, I lost it. He said, my question is how to make an opt-in page or landing page as successful as possible. I'm going to do affiliate launches, and the first step is getting people to put in their email. If the opt-in ratio is too low, the whole thing falls apart. So really, what are the critical elements or how to approach the content on a good landing page? You just started talking about that. There's a few things like right above the fold. Like we know the number varies widely, but it's something like only 30% of your audience is going to scroll beyond like the above the fold or the onload viewport, like what's immediately visible when they get to the page. So right away, you're losing a lot of audience. So it's really critical to make sure that that hero is effective. When we talk about landing pages, especially if we're talking about like pushing for email signups, not necessarily booking a service or buying a product, but that lower friction kind of lead generation, there's several elements. We actually do a workshop on it on just this subject over on the AWeber site. Alicia and I ran one a couple of days ago on this, and you can check that out at aweber.com/events. But a clear offer. So when we talk about like lead generation, don't say sign up for my newsletter. Chris demoed it in that page right at the bottom with that lower friction ask. He said, get daily dog tips. I forget the framing, but you were explicitly providing value or explaining what the value was that they were getting. You didn't say sign up for my newsletter because like they're not motivated to just sign up for your newsletter, right? They need to know what they're getting in return. So a clear offer, a trust element that could be, reviews, testimonials. It could be join 2,742 happy subscribers, something that indicates this is credible and people are getting value out of it. Ensuring that it's mobilely responsive. 70-80% of your traffic anymore is going to come from mobile, and a clear CTA. So those are the main things. But I think what's even more important when we're talking about that is what Chris was just talking about with that previous landing page, is that when people are scrolling the page, so if the hero, the above the fold, didn't convert, but they haven't left, they didn't go I'm out and bounce, they're interested. You just still have to convince them. So as they scroll, it's okay, what's the second thing they need to know? Maybe they need to know more about Chris, so he's going to expand a little bit on him. All right, what's the third thing they know? They kept scrolling past that. They haven't left, but they're still scrolling. Maybe they need to understand the process. Like you reach out, I come meet your dog. We set up our first walk. Whatever that might be. But he's addressing questions and potential pain points that they may have as they scroll that page. Because like Chris just said, they are interested. They're interested enough to not leave yet. But you still just have to convince them. So addressing those pain points. And we've shown that with like your Dinky pickleball paddle website too, where you start to show, okay, maybe what's inside this guide for getting started and kind of continuing to go deeper and deeper, and then ensuring that at the bottom, there's an opportunity to take action. Don't leave a dead end or a one-way street where they get all the way down to the bottom. They've consumed everything. They haven't bounced. They haven't left, but they have to go find that form again.
Yeah. I don't have anything to add for that other than like you got to make your offer clear and compelling. Like this is the page that was just redesigned in the AWeber builder using that same prompt. And it's cool. Like it looks different than other things. The one thing that I would do is I would definitely change this because I would hate it if my dog walker was my dog's favorite person. I'm their favorite person. But really good. Like, and again, it came from one prompt. But you really want to nail this top level thing. The one thing that it did that was bad is it took away the call to action. I've got to have it re-add that in. So I'm just gonna say it's really important that there's a call to action to book with me right in the hero. Also, change the headline because my customers don't want me to be their favorite or their dog's favorite. They want to be. Okay. So I'm going to ask for a new headline. I'm going to ask for my call to action to be added back in, but I'm going to actually move on from the mailbag because I forgot I wanted to demo something when thinking about landing pages that that's kind of gets back to that idea of templates. Like templates are good. Templated web pages are good because people understand how websites work. And when something looks like something they've seen before, they know how to use it. There's this user experience law called Jacob's Law that is basically like you should make your thing, your tool look like other people's app or tool so they understand the patterns that they can use. And I think in many cases that's good. But I'm starting to feel more and more that in terms of personal websites or small business websites, especially for service businesses where the goal is to get people to like and trust and want to interact with you, it makes more sense to push things a little. And AI gives you the ability to do that in ways that you never could. So like this is a landing page. It probably doesn't look like it to you, but this is a landing page that I built with AWeber's landing page builder. And it's a usable desktop that's supposed to represent an old desktop. Say I'm like I write or teach people about technology. And with the landing page builder, I was able to create something that has like a little notepad here with a sign up form that works, that signs people up for my AWeber list. It also has a calculator just for the fun of it to give people this nostalgic feel of what old technology used to be. It has a playable snake game. I'm playing this right now. Uh-oh, I lost.
Oh.
It has a working MIDI sequencer. So I don't know if you can hear this.
We can.
So, and it has a fun little terminal. And like, this is neat. It's probably like overkill. But what I want to suggest for people is that templates are great. But one of the reasons they exist is because it wasn't possible for us to do the things that we had in our minds in the past. Like with our builder at AWeber, I think I've shown this before, like you can sketch something out on a Post-it note, take a picture of it with your webcam or phone, put it into the builder and say, build this for me, and it'll do a first pass. So I want to encourage you, if you're using these AI site builder tools, like push them a little. If you have a crazy, fun, weird idea, ask for it. The worst thing that happens is it can't do it, and you go back to the previous version. But the best case, you build something that really feels remarkable that people are going to remember and connect to, you know?
Yeah, and even if you're not going to push it this far, it's just a demonstration of like you did this conversation. We can all push the limits of what we've. I feel like because we've come from decades of templates, we're all maybe having to like relearn the muscle of like what else is possible. Because I think even as like a creative director, I start to think about, what could I try that's different, and I find myself constrained by what I expect to be possible versus like, let me push that further. That's a perfect example. I mean, to like give me a Windows style desktop that's incredible. Awesome. All right. Well, I don't think we have any other outstanding questions. But this is great. I mean, I think the takeaway, if nothing else, is like, don't just prompt these things, say that's aesthetically nice design and move on. Like push them further, iterate, and force them to kind of create something that's more uniquely you. And hopefully maybe together, we can improve your results because you don't look like the rest of the internet. And maybe we collectively avoid the Beigeification of the entire internet or the roundification, whichever.
The
I know you're trying to get Beigeification to catch on, so feel free to use that with all of your friends and your whole network, and help Chris in his mission to have Beigeification catch on.
Well, so one other thing here, like if you're just on landing pages, and a specific interesting thing about this, if you are a person who has been providing like digital marketing or digital creative services to small businesses for a while, like if you design websites using templates for them, this should hopefully give you superpowers, because now you're going to be able to make better, more personalized websites and landing pages and stuff like that faster. You're not going to have to rely on templates. You're going to be able to build the thing for the individual that they actually want. And that's pretty exciting. Like Dave, I know that you serve a lot of your clients doing creative services and build outs for them. I hope that when you have this in your hands, you're able to do the things that weren't possible before because of like time constraints. Like you don't have the same skill constraints, but because we all have time constraints. I'm really excited what like our specific tool is going to let you do. But for anyone using any of the tools that we talked about today, like you can do that, use them to do things that were just out of reach before. And that's what's so exciting.
I was going to say I don't often disagree with Dave, but I will here. I don't think it's slowly destroying the world of templates. I think it's very quickly destroying the world of templates. Another email provider, Kit, just released a new landing page builder this week, right? And it's a traditional landing page builder, and they're promoting 20 plus new templates. Like, to me, like templates are irrelevant. Like they no longer matter, because it's your creativity and your imagination and what you want to see. Like we started talking about this on the AWeber side, where it's like the limitations are your imagination, not technical, not template, not functionality. The only limitations here are really just what you can imagine that you want to create. So, yeah. Dave, nice. Awesome. Well, I appreciate everybody being here with us. We're trying to make sure that we are holding true to our mission, which like is the point of the show is taking everything that's happening in AI and turning it into something that's practical and applicable today. And we're constantly trying to get better at that, and I think sometimes we do a better job and sometimes not so much. I love this today, Chris. I felt like between the document and the demo that you ran through, I hope that y'all take this, put it into practice, and then share back with us what you put together. Go to aweber.com/shift. You can sign up for the newsletter. You can also submit questions there, and you can submit whatever you created. Please go fill out that questionnaire form and send us like a URL to something that you updated or creative. Tabby, if you do a version of your website using Claude or one of these tools instead of Shopify, we'd love to see that. So please, we want to be supportive along the way and hopefully provide that kind of value.
Yeah. And this was so cool. This is in AWeber's builder. You could probably do the same thing in many other builders, but like we've really been conscious about making it easy for you to edit and create images here. I wanted a picture of myself with a dog, and because I didn't have one on hand. So
and you
I just gave it my headshot. That's all I gave it, and it gave me this image back, which is helpful for right now. Yeah, this is cool. Really fun stuff.
That's pretty incredible. I cannot wait. We're going to do a lot more about like kind of AWeber's AI builders as they're rolling out. The sign up form builders available to everybody in AWeber now, and we're going further. So more to come on that stuff.
I just broke our layout by stopping sharing my screen. I'm sorry, Jesse.
I still see it. You don't see it anymore? Huh, I don't know. Well, I just pulled it down. Anyway, thank y'all so much for being here. Again, happy World Cup to all who celebrate. I hope it's a joyous one and not a depressing one. The U.S. plays tonight. I'm excited. Chris, what are you going to do to get away and get out this weekend?
Well, I'm going to Wildwood in the Jersey Shore this weekend, so it'll be fun. It's going to be rainy, thunderstorms, but I love the the smell of the beach, the feel of the shore air.
Okay. You get that you know, three-quarter wetsuit on and get out and do some surfing or what?
I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to play some pickleball. That's for sure.
Yeah. That I understand. Thanks y'all so much for being here. We'll see you Tuesday at noon.
See you, folks.
Drew is really good at making other people look really good.
Stunning.
And with the help of AWeber's marketing platform, he's built an entire audience on his ability to turn heads. So even though Drew's just a team of one, it never really feels that way.
That's a wrap, folks. Come on out.
Drew uses AWeber. It's how teams of one get more done.
Well, thanks, Tim. Have sweet. You're the best, Tim.
With AWeber, it's like he has a whole staff helping him grow his audience and build professional-looking content.
And send. You got it. Great job, team.
From automated email campaigns
Oh, of course, sign up. You got it from here.
to insight-packed reports.
How are we looking on new subscribers? Is that the day we launch the new course? Nice.
AWeber gives Drew the freedom to go forth
Hey.
and be Drew. AWeber, time to love what you do.